There are two functions to invoice a job to a customer. So let's look at the first one. So I will start with opening the list of jobs. And if you click on process, you will see that there's a function create job sales invoice. Now that function will create a sales invoice for all billable lines on a job. So before running the function, let's first look at an example. So let's take the first one. So I will open the job card. And by selecting navigate job, let me show you the job planning lines. So in here you can see the job planning lines, and you can see that there are planning lines with both budget and billable, with budget, also planning lines with only billable, and so on. So again, like I just mentioned, all planning lines that have the line type both budget and billable or billable will be included on the sales invoice. So that's very, very important to realize. And you will see that the program will include them with the full quantity, no matter what has been posted as usage. As for example, here we have a line with both budget and billable. So we have a budget of 20 hours. And if I click here on navigate job planning line, linked job ledger entry, you can see that there is no consumption posted for the planning line so far, but still Business Central will create an invoice for 20 hours. So let's go and have a look. So here in my list of jobs, again, I can click on process and create job sales invoice. By the way, you can also access the function by using the search. So create job sales invoice. So in here you can now enter the posting date. You can specify if you want to create an invoice per job or job task. And so per job task would mean that for each separate job task, Business Central will create an invoice. So let's take to job for this example. And then you can filter. So like I just said, Business Central will create an invoice for the whole job, but you can filter, for example, on job task number. So in that way, the system only creates an invoice for the tasks that you enter here in this field. And you can also filter based on the planning date, or if you want, on the posting date. So in this case, let's just filter on the job number because I only want to create an invoice for the first job. And let's now run the function. All right, so there's one invoice created. So let's return to the rule center. And if I click here on sales and if I go to sales invoices, so you can see here the list of unposted invoices, and here at the bottom you can see the invoice with posting date April 6th. So that should be the one. So let me open the document. And here you can see indeed that this is the invoice for job number 10. Now we just had a look at the planning lines, and remember there was a planning line for Linda with both budget and billable of 20 hours, and you can see, like I already explained, that the full 20 hours are suggested in the invoice. So each line with billable in the planning line type is now created here in the sales invoice. So resources, items, and even a GL account, as you can see here. Also notice that it's not possible to change the quantity. And suppose that you only want to invoice 5 hours. So if you try to change this, you will see that you will get an error because the sales line is linked to a job task. So this means that if you use this function, you have to create an invoice for the full quantity. So in my opinion, this could be a useful function to use maybe at the end of a project where you just invoice everything at once. But if you want to create a more specific invoice or an invoice only for certain planning lines, for example, then it might be better to use the second function, which is explained in the following units. But let me first post this invoice. So I will click here on revert the change so that we have the 20 hours again. And now I will just post the document. So I will click here on post. So now everything is invoiced, and that's of course something that you will also see on the job itself. So if I click on navigate to go to the job task lines, so here you can see the job task lines. Then you see that if I scroll now to the right, that for this job everything is invoiced. You can see here the billable invoice cost, but especially the billable invoice price, which is showing the amounts that are invoiced for each job task. This is, by the way, also something that you can check by going to the job statistics. So if I click here on job and if I go to statistics, you can see here the statistics. So budget, usage, billable and invoiced for resources, items, GL accounts, and then the total. And also here you can see, of course, that everything has been invoiced. While if you look at the usage, there's not that much usage posted to the job yet. So and this will of course also have an impact on the WIP calculation, which is covered in a separate learning path in this course.